Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Good morning. Oh no, application error. Tisk. We're gonna have to look at that. Where is it? Browser source. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, wait. Let's see what it says. Do we need to like reauthorize it or something? Well, in the meantime, Donald Trump said that he's going to impose 200 billion more in tariffs on China at a rate of 10%. And the market's going crazy. Look at that move in the overnight session. Pretty big one. Well over a point and a half or so. We are higher than that last peak, but not quite as high as this chaos a little earlier in the year, the beginning of June. Let's zoom in here. So here was that one. We're higher than that one, but we're not higher than that one, and we're not higher than the nonsense at the February or so. So I have to say quite a bit of volatility, but not outright panic. E-mini, of course, down pretty big, but recovering. Yep, that application is just hosed. So do we need to do it like that? Yes, that's what we get today. Yeah, so my game plan, I want to play swings. I want to play it with the trend. At the moment, I would be preferring shorts for sure until we get, indication that we've ended the swing. So, like, if we were to come back, I would want it to see it stop at 120. If we get it to stop at 120, I might take a short. But yeah, it's not like outright total chaos. Oh yeah, we should get the links on. Okay, an uptick, but not a strong bid. And the 5-year hasn't gone along with it yet. Trump escalates trade, blah, 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 blah. Oh, we do have news today, don't we? Let's check. Building permits and housing starts, 6:30, okay. Well, it's a pretty significant move news, but it's not like CPI, so I don't know if that's what they're waiting for or not, but I don't think that it matters as much as what's going on with the trade war stuff. Actually noticing that JPY is up after all of this. 6E got hammered. Oh, they got hammered. Gold got hammered. Interesting. It's really interesting that you get all this trade war stuff and nobody wants gold. But, well, maybe it's not nobody wants gold, but people want dollars so much more. We're having a trade war and people are fleeing into the dollar, which is the right move, right? If the United States has a trade war and they reduce their trade deficit, then that means that there's going to be more demand for dollars. That's why it's going up. I think that's why it's going up, at least my theory. There we go. All right. Ooh. Fed Chair Powell speaks tomorrow, and we get current account. I forget what's that one. Oh yes, difference in value between imported good and exported goods, services, income flows, and unilateral transfers during the previous quarter. Actual greater than forecast is good for currency. Well, that's going to be really interesting to see what that comes out to. And the pressure is up right now in the 10-year. Metals will recover, I guess. How is my Facebook short doing today? That's one we should check. Load it up here takes it a bit. Shanghai down 3.8, Shenzhen 5.8. There we go. I remember yesterday I was reading on Reddit and there's a couple of people that were trying to make the case that the US needs China more than China needs the US. And I was like, that makes no sense at all. And then you go and you look at the markets. What does the market think? Well, the S&P is down for sure. It's down about 30 points. But the Shanghai index is down 5%. The Shanghai is down 3.8 and the Shenzhen is 5.8. So I think the market disagrees. Okay, here we are at 120. This was the spot we wanted to pay attention to. Only seen 238 go into it. Yep. So I think I take this one. Oh, what's wrong? There we go. Okay, that should have been filled there. There we go. All right. Okay, so Facebook is at 196, so not where I would like it to be. That means that the Facebook short is pretty much all lost still. So it sucks. I kind of saw the opportunity, but it's just not doing what I want. Okay, well, that's already not going the way I want it to. Nobody's traded even half. 0 half. Okay, 198. Okay, fighting there. Well, the trade is not necessarily invalidated, but I didn't think that they were going to. I mean, it's not a higher high, but I also didn't think that they were going to trade through 120, so. I'm going to have to say that that was a poorly thought out risk. Yep, there it is right there. Okay, so we get out of this. Yeah, you gotta be kidding me. Okay. Well, if this continues on, it's a little concerning, isn't it? This thing's got legs. You know, when I took that short, I think I didn't pay enough attention to how much was being absorbed on the bid there, because even though not a ton had gone into the price, there was still people buying it, and I did not read that spot correctly at all. Yeah. Before the news, too. Okay, so potentially a pivot there. They traded 20 there way too easily. Okay, we should be getting the news here now. Building permits was 113.01 versus 1350 expected. So about 50 less than expected. I don't think that's a huge deal. I'm interested to see what was like the 50% of this move. We're going to say 210. Yeah, it opened at 21. Where did we get to? 06. So 12, and then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 26 plus 12, 5 by 2, 19. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're above the 50% retracement. So it was a 119.29.5. It's somewhere around there. You're right. But the point is, we are above the 50% retracement. So this is very bullish, in my opinion. And we're getting bids absorbing here. Probably we can come back to the 120 or the... Okay, so nobody's hitting that. Well, okay, they're not really offering up a lot, are they? Okay. That looks like a buy to me. Okay, they did go through it. Dang it. I think if this one goes, it goes without me because I can't buy 1/2. Well, so if this thing extends off the top, you've got like 120.11. Super mad that I didn't get filled, guys. Super mad. Nope. I traded it too fast. That 27 immediately hit it concerns me. And that they didn't just continue up from there concerns me. So now we may be potentially in a range, and I don't want to mess with that. I would prefer it to come back. I would prefer to touch 120 at least. That was kind of a potential pivot, so they should have trouble getting past 120. Yeah, okay, so now they're going to tick down and they're trade into it. And they hit that one pretty quickly too. Okay, we're gonna stay out and just watch this. One of the things that makes this hard is that we're not getting a clear pivot spot down here. You know, it kind of seems like you could maybe buy 10, but without a clear pivot area to play it against, then I didn't necessarily see it at 015. And if you get filled at 005, there's too much of a probability of trading 120, so I don't know if that's a safe place to get into either. Well, they're trading up into it, so this again, it looks like it might go without me. And I don't know if I would have gotten filled at 005. Actually, well, it traded through it, didn't it? Yeah. And you see when it ticks down, they're putting stuff on it, so we still don't find an area of balance. Hmm. ECB's Nowotai says Greece and others can deal with raised rates because their debt has been rolled out to 2044. How disingenuous can the European CBs get? The euro will break up before we see a rate hike. That is my bet. Man, that's an interesting prediction. The euro will break up before the ECB ever raises rates. Oh man. Zero half looking awfully strong now. I guess it's 23. I shouldn't say awfully strong, but it is stronger. If I had left my order in at 005, maybe could have been filled by now. Hard to say. Well, definitely would be filled now. But here's exactly what I'm talking about. They tick down, and it's a strong tick. And then if you get filled at 120, you get filled at evens, and they tick through you. What are the chances that they trade the point of control too? I mean, I don't know, but I'm going to guess it's fairly high. Because a lot of volume went through there already. So it's a bad buy location. Now, if they can come back down to, like, say, 31, that might be a safer spot. Okay, so orders immediately into 31.5. That I should add that buy pivot there did not make a higher high. Like, we're kind of depends on what you're going to decide are the swings. But if we say this was a pivot, this was a pivot, this was a pivot, pivot, then you've got high, low, slightly higher high, but not as high as this high. Possible higher low. Traded to the 31.5, 7 went through, but it was like immediate, so you can't say if that was really a pivot or not based on order flow. Okay. Well, they are having a little bit of trouble there getting through 0 even. Okay, some absorption at evens. maybe good. It's also the first pullback after the move that followed the London sell-off. So the short could continue through. It could do either or. I don't have a really good edge here to say at the moment what it's going to do. One thing I will say is that the spread did not steepen very much. So there is that. Why did the spread not steepen very much? In fact, we kind of turned around at what was... Need to see if your 120 holds. Yeah. I guess they did. I guess they did kind of pivot after the news hit, didn't they? Yeah. There you go. They've traded across 120 a couple of times now, but not much of anything has gone into 31.5. U.S. Senate blocks sale of F-35 jets to Turkey. Good. The hell are you guys thinking? You would think that after such a crazy move overnight that we would have wild and exciting trading, and yet it's been pretty sleepy since the 6:30 news. The first 10 minutes had stuff, but then after the news, pretty boring. Oh, this guy made some good trades in the overnight. He made $500 on the ZN. Maybe it was ZB. Yeah, it was ZB. He made 500 off of 8 trades. Yeah, it could do better than that, actually, buddy. But it's still not bad. Yield on Argentine Century Bond jumps 20 basis points to a record 9 and 9.17. That would be interesting to trade a 100-year bond, wouldn't it? Okay, they traded 331.5. Okay. What, at the 31? Yeah. 30 half, there's a few gone in. So buying 31 even might be the spot if this is a higher low. Sorry, yeah, if this is a higher low. I'm not sure if it actually is. But it should come to 30 half or 30. And if we've traded at 30 half on the downtick, that I think that we actually probably could get touched 30. Gave you the sell at 120, huh? I see it now. Shouldn't have it on a 5. I should have it on a 5,000 volume chart. There we go. Okay. Been working on a strategy with John. Okay, they pushed through a lot of volume there. There was almost 5K. There was a 1,200 order in the 5-year Okay, if it goes to a new low, looking at potentially 27.5. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, they ticked up. Snap. Yeah. I think I'm gonna take this one. 1, 2. 30.5 would be so much better. And well, I thought it was about to go, so I took it, and then they ticked it down against me. So that may have been a lure that I took. Okay, they recovered, bid recovered. Let's see if the buyers hit back now. No buyers came in through there. It only took 973 to tick down. Okay. Touched 30 a couple of times. Not allowed to move it to the 30. Fooled by the lure. Well, everything that I'm seeing here, aside from the fact that we're below the VWAP, says to me that we should be going long here. But it's being difficult to pick a spot. There's a lot hitting into 30. So quite a few contracts have pushed into 30 even though the bid is strong. I need to relax a little bit. Here's the iceberg at 30. Okay, they pushed through it. Everybody afraid to trade 29.5. that might have been one right there. Well, that was a strong uptick. Did not take much to tick them back up here from 30, huh? You can kind of see the level 2 readjusting too. This bid being strong really kind of concerns me. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. So 4K hit into 31. There's an iceberg there holding it. Some of the bid at 30.5 actually pulled away for a second. So this might be just another trap. Okay, they traded through it. So this is the eye we've been looking for. Okay. Nope, I don't like the way that that worked either. Nobody's hitting 30.5 though. Suppose I could have waited for the view up and taken it there, because then there's a good chance that you get a higher high, and I could have taken it to here, from here to here. Hmm. This looks like a lure to me. Like there's 43 on the offer, there's only 700 on the bid. Hardly any orders are going through. Makes no sense. Especially since, we just ticked up and then down. And there was definitely interest at 31. Well, and they traded down through it. It actually only took 485. Oh, there you go. And ticked back up, but it's still four and nobody's hit this. Iceberg in the 5-year. $722. Still no orders at 30, although I expect that there probably will get a few. Yeah, that was more than a few. Okay. Well, it's just acting incredibly bizarre. I really regret getting in here. And I'm just kind of looking for my out. The thing is I was saying, oh, maybe these are lures, but then there wasn't any absorption at any of these prices. So I think that theory doesn't really make sense anymore. I also, I thought that this was, it had done it, the pivot had happened, and it's going to go up. But now I can see that we could potentially range in here for a while, and it looks like 31 is the kind of the edge of that range. So that's not going to work out either. Awful, awful, awful. Well, that 27.5 is starting to look likely to me. Yep. Three minutes to the E-mini. That would have been my last trade. For sure. Bad. Should have been saying there, okay, this bid here was a lure. Should have bailed on it immediately, of course. I guess I just felt frozen and I didn't really know what to do or how to handle it. But I could have just gotten out at -1. And then maybe that was a signal that we were going to go lower, but man. I mean, for us to really go much further, I would think that the E-mini would want to say that they're going to recover. So, I don't know. This 27 area is pretty critical. And the real problem is that it really has been all selling through all of this and I was buying it. So that doesn't really make much sense either, does it? It's like not here, not here, not here. Where did I take it? 31, 30, 31 half. So there was one. That one doesn't really make sense, but you could, I think maybe it would be okay to do this. Yeah. Even though it's at the low, I just think there's a really high probability that they're going to go down to that 27 now. Hmm. It was only one tick below the past pivot. There is absorption on the offer though. This should tick down still. Shouldn't say should. I think it will tick down still. Yeah. Come on, hit 28.5, please. Okay. Seems like this is a bad spot. I've been doing very poorly on the fills today too, haven't I? Okay. I think there's a chance they could continue through, but that price just looked way too balanced. Like the E-mini was pushing quite a bit higher and they were trading back and forth across it 2 or 3 times. That's gonna give a lot of heat. And like I said, it's only one tick below the previous lows, so we could come back to 31 and it could still be considered a failure. Well, geez, 3,700. Or nope, they did trade through it, and 28.5 pulled. Okay, so I was right. Could have just held the 29, but I really didn't like that trade, so. Well, it wasn't that I didn't like the trade, I just didn't like the way that it was behaving. You know, for there to have been a 4K order there, I think that kind of seals that was really the wrong spot to be taking a trade. Lots of fighting there. This is really sketch. Yeah, of course it gave a signal when it dropped there. Okay. Yep, they're gonna flush it. There's 27.5. There it is. Okay. Exactly what I would expect to see there, actually. Okay. You took 28 to 27.5. That's funny. After it ticked through the iceberg, I was like, yeah, we're too late. Really, the one that we took, the one that I took at 29 was probably like the only spot that would have actually made sense, and it was too sketchy. So really, it was like, oh, you thought it was gonna crack big time? It was pretty much a given that they were gonna stop at 27 because it's yeah. Now I'll just show you right here. it's not like a single print per se. So when you come up to here, oh, sorry, where is it? 20, right here, this area right here. So see this, it's was resistance, and then it became support. And when they busted through it, they had these gaps. So that's how I know that there was a high probability that if they pushed down that they were going to touch 27. Now the next step is 24. 24.5, there was a big, that was where there was that big order. Remember that? Now the question is, will the E-mini be able to keep this up? So I don't want to necessarily trade the correlation, but I do want them to be going generally the right directions. So if I'm going to take this long, I want the E-mini to be coming down. So that may be a pivot there. With at least a short-term pivot in the E-mini. I'm not so sure I'd be shorting it yet, although that's an interesting pattern and it's making a cumulative delta, isn't it? Volume cumulative delta around here was really volatile, by the way. Okay, so that is a bit too strong of an uptick. Yep, and they took it. Fighting. Oh, okay, I think I can take this. Okay, that's okay. That's good. Ticked up and they hit it and it's holding. Oh, it's going to go back and forth quite a bit here, probably. I'm going to have to call that an I. Okay, the E-mini was looking bad there, and they just shot right back up to the high. And a lot of absorption there at 27.57. Okay, now a lot at 27.58. Lots of liquid spikes up like that. Nope. Oof. Well, the E-mini just wants to go. Treasuries aren't necessarily going along with it, though. I mean, that's been weak for a while, and hardly anything has hit it. There's a 5-year taking a step up. And that push up in the E-mini, it looks so awful. Awfully impulsive to me. You still like the 280 long, huh? I mean, I think that the spot is okay. I probably might have been able to get filled at 27.5, and that would have been a lot more comfortable. But, okay. It's still not quite, the way that I'd like. Yeah, I would just like this to tick up and get 2,000 below me and go, Um, the problem I have with this one is that if this trade goes south, I think it could do so really quickly, Like I could see these orders beneath us just pulling. And the E-mini is kind of doing this slow, consolidation up type of thing. See, that's not. They can't get over 2. Okay, there they got over 2. Pull. Which E-mini is fallen again. Let's see what this particular cell does. was 2754.75. It was right here where it stopped. Put a P right there. Okay. Finally did it. This broke up. It's at the same time the E-mini broke through. Lots of level 2 changes. Bid isn't super strong though. The big order. Didn't notice that. Do you notice that big order at 140? Okay, so the picture in the E-mini is starting to look really negative because we just broke a lower low. The next step at the VWAP there, 2752.50. That begins to turn this into a downtrend again, and would probably start moving down to test the lows. Okay, so there's defense on that price. Some buyers there. Tick up again in the 10-year. Not a whole lot of pulling at 29. Was it 29? No, it wasn't. That was way up at like 31, huh? Where we saw a bunch of spoofs. Okay, they bought through that one. Wow. Look at how much volume they ate up on the way up. I'm a little concerned about the trade now because 29 was kind of a spot. I mean, that was a spot they were looking to go long at one point, right? And it did just turn there. And we've had to put in a ton of volume just to get here. And the E-mini is still trying to hold the VWAP here. And suddenly the appetite is gone. some flips. Level 2 is doing some gymnastics. I'll tell you what, the things we've had to put up with to get fills today. Yeah, if I can get back in. Well, it may go or it may not. I'm like out of water, so I'm gonna go get a drink and feel a little stressed. So I'm gonna walk away from it for a little bit and see how this goes. But yeah, the 280 was an okay spot though. Yeah, I think if they come back down, there's a potential that you could get filled at 280 again and it could still move up, but it's a little, I don't know, the chart looks a little weird to me. But I'm going to walk away for a few seconds and let it do its thing, and if it goes, it goes. I mean, we took 3 bad trades in a row anyways, right? So we're not trading anymore technically. If I was on my live account, I would be switching over to Sim. And yeah. Okay, well, they did take it through there, so. So I don't like that anymore. And it doesn't look like I would get filled at 29.5 either. Certainly could have waited. I could be sitting there with a stop limit at 29. If they trade back through it, get out. But I mean, it might go through. I mean, I can see what you're saying about how, you know, when we just look at the order flow, there's a chance that it could slip through here, and frankly, go back up to the VWAP. But I just see too many other things that say that they want to fight around here. And so if it really is going to go back to the VWAP and they're going to fight around here, I want to maybe see if we can get it lower. This is sell and in the E-mini is a little questionable. E-mini continues to be really interesting. Well, they're gonna try and stop out that resistance area. I just know that 290 is a spot where sellers are gonna step in, right? And they did, frankly. I mean, there was a 4K there. Yep, there was a 4K there and everything, and I'm just looking at it from the perspective of I got one. I'm counter trend. This could just be a pullback. I'm just gonna take the first resistance area. That's why I did it. So maybe it's the wrong call, but that was my logic. Yeah, but they traded up through 290, but not that much has gone through at 29.5. It did give a good long signal down at 28 where I got in. And yeah, it was a single print there that got defended. Okay. Curious. And now I'm thinking I can actually... Even is stuck in a range. Now I'm thinking, just based off of the way that the level 2 is going, I think there's a really good chance that I can get filled at 29 and 29.5. Oh, maybe not. Okay, so that was the stop run. Well, if I bought it at 30.5, you got 31 to contend with. I'm not sure if I want to mess with that one. I'm also seeing, yes, or like that big order at 31. Oh yeah. Oh, I totally forgot. No, you know what? Something I forgot was the big order at what was it, 140? Was no, it was 142. No, it was 140. I forgot about the big order at 140, and that I don't know. Did they trade through it? I didn't see. Yeah, and I can see Keith sitting there saying sell it, and like that's what I'm thinking too, because there was a stop run. It was a little impulsive. I don't see the E-mini, like, you know, going completely dead. In fact, what I see in the E-mini right now is that people bought it off of the open right here, and then all of them sold, and it brought us down to here. It actually did take us a little bit lower than the open, but now they appear to be buying. So if they do, if all of those people buy again, you would probably get a higher high. And there was an iceberg there. And there's an iceberg here. Okay. At first it looked okay. I think that if they do this, they can come back to 280. 285, 290 is actually probably a better spot. I don't know if I like what the level 2 is doing at the moment, though. I don't like that they have stopped at the point of control twice. Well, that is a interesting thought. I don't like that there's only 1,000 there on this for me, so I was kind of hoping that the sellers would hold that better, but it is in the middle of a range here. Obviously not a lot of opportunity to get filled at 31. Jump, jump, jump. And you see the volume here in the ZF is possibly turning. The E-mini is really chopping. I do like the risk setup here. Waves of 3. I see a couple of things that could take it both ways, but I still like the short off of the view up, to be honest. Now, if I see a lot of iceberging around here, then I might think twice, because part of this is premised on the fact that because we just had that stop run, that they're not going to have as much fuel. Okay. So there was a bit of an iceberg at 30.5 and they traded through it, and immediately some hit at 31. The E-mini is looking like they're going to blow out the bottom. They're barely holding it. Yeah. This area here around 31 is actually starting to look really balanced to me. Okay, the E-mini was able to hold that one. at least that attempt. Are they gonna stop it and turn around again? Okay. If they can get above that VWAP. Okay, E-mini did make a higher high. Just barely. They traded down, wow, 31.99. Only 12.60 on the bit offer though. Nope, didn't take through it. Awfully churny here. Yeah. Okay. Okay, they broke out the crossed it again. So now it's like what, 16? 1, 2, 3. $16 ticks. That's insane. I think 20 is the biggest I've ever seen. Okay, but yeah, they ticked out of it that time. Oh, Uzi got it at 144.08 to 09. He tried one at 144.05. Oh, that's funny. He had it down here when they dropped down and touched the low. Then he took it at 08. Huh. Clever. What is it he sees at that Uzi sees at that spot that he knew? That was the same place that I took out at, so he must have seen that same balance and just took a tick out of it. Well, ZB has not touched 16 yet. You can see all of the orders sitting there at it, though. It looks like they did touch 120 there. Ooh. They just blew them out right there. Technically, they had no choice but to do that, because if they stopped there, it would have been really bad for bears. Or, I mean, bulls. Okay, well, they traded 16. A little bit pulled, actually. 200 pulled. Well, then what were you doing in here, stupid dog? Huh? Huh? Stupid dog comes in here with my wife and then gets stuck in here. Oh, you had not heard, but we talked about unfinished auctions many times. They're kind of, I don't know. The unfinished auction is a really interesting one because it seems to me, just from looking at it and doing our edge, that there is a really good chance that when there's an unfinished auction that they're going to go back up and finish it. Really good probability, especially in ZB. But when we were following it, it did not prove to be reliable. In fact, I think Keith was trying it for a while and then did some statistics on it and determined that it wasn't worth playing it. But I think that when we were going through that, I think that we just kind of decided that we don't know what the circumstances is when it's a really reliable trade and when it's not. Let's see what he says. I see him typing. My memory is a little hazy on it. Yeah, context. So yeah, there seems to be a particular context where an unfinished auction is a really good signal, and a context when it's not. But I don't know what the context is. So here in this particular situation, you know, sure seems like that there's a opportunity for them to go and trade past 18, but I don't really know. Yeah. Yeah, like I call it unfinished because, oh, let's see what Keith says now. Yes, I played unfinished auctions for quite a while. It worked for a while, and then it didn't, like everything else in trading. And I was only tracking them in ZB. They can be additional context, but I wouldn't rely on them. I wouldn't rely on them solely. Yeah. My take on an unfinished auction, though, is that the buyers weren't done. They still wanted to buy it higher, and sellers overwhelmed them, essentially, for whatever reason. Well, so, that's an interesting thought. Okay, so... I don't think the idea is to rely on them. They're like most indicators. They provide you with information you can add to your version of the context for the trading session. Yeah. So like if I really thought they were going to move up, and I'm just so not sure right now. But if we were going to move up, I think that they're going to trade through 18. So if I had a long on maybe and I was keeping it on, I would try and let it run and see if they just do the single print at 19, or if they decide to blow through 19 and go to the next step up. That would be at like it would be 21. Hmm. Yeah, I like that. Good for targets, but not necessarily predictive. I really feel like that the only thing that's truly predictive is the order flow. See, it's like I would really like to see a strategy in treasuries, like an automated strategy. Excuse me, an automated strategy that works on an intraday basis that is based only on price and has absolutely no volume component in it. They also help you see what stage of the auction we're in. So that's something I'm not too familiar with. So what would that mean exactly? I'm seeing some volume short in the 10-year. Okay. Well, I'm questioning if I really want to take a trade there or not. I don't think I do. So, because it's too close. Two break evens. That one I think I played. So this last one, and I'm actually glad that I did that the way that I did, because it did go up 4 ticks, but when you get like a 11 to 13 tick zipper, there's a really good chance that they're going to reverse, which means they would have traded down. And after 13, the probability flips around. So I knew at that point that I needed to try and get out, and I did. And then this one right here, we talked about that one. So I need to rewatch it, because I think the mistake I made on that one, I mean, you guys were saying I think that there's a good chance that they'll trade through it, and I thought, well, I'm just looking at the ZN alone, I see some indications that they're having trouble at 30. And you can see it right here. I took it at 28 and I got off at 29 because there was just all of this noise here, and I didn't like that. But the thing that I missed, and the thing that I was supposed to be paying attention to, and I don't know what the deal was, but I just kind of forgot, was that there was a big order in ZF. And I don't know if they collided with it or if it pulled, but I should have been waiting to see what happened with that big order. So that was a big mistake, and there could have been a good, well, if I had held that, what would that have given me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more in that one. That could have been an 8-tick trade. So that was a mistake. This one, I think I was tilting at that point, and I just took it. Probably shouldn't have sold it there. And I got out of it, so that's okay. These ones, I think when I'm looking at the chart here, so like I sold 31.5. Was it 31.5 at 623. 623. Right there. No, right? What was it? Okay, so that was that one. At the time, I thought that I had decent risk. It just went up. I'm not quite sure what I could have done on that one to know that it wasn't, that it was going to do that. For some reason, I thought that it wasn't going to get past that pivot. And then 31. These two buys right here. Also, I think on this one I misread the delta because they were going down on lows on delta, right? So now I'm thinking there's a lot of people to buy here, but then they went down and stopped them out. And so I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to read that one again. I think there was a lot of on these edges here. The order flow was not really super clear, and the only real aberration that we got was when we busted down through here, and the big order showed up in ZF. So it was tough trading overall. Anyways, we did have one good trade that we could have played more and kind of saved ourselves if we had played it right though. So okay, so you guys are talking about block trades. So like oh, how much volume does block trades account for? I'm going to guess that it is extremely low. Yeah. So like, yeah, Liz just pulled it up here and showed us a screenshot of it. So like, there was one in the 5 and there was one in the 10. And the one in the 10 was at 035, like way early this morning. So like nothing has happened since. They're not. The problem is they're not common enough to pay attention to them. They're just not common enough. Well, I did try. I did think like I wanted to sell it at 120. Remember? But I said I don't have enough time. So, I mean, I'm glad that I didn't take it, but I'm also glad to know that my read there was correct. So, anyways, I think that's it. Oh, that was last Wednesday. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna post my sheets here so we can. So we'll still get another 5 minutes or so of order flow in the video, but I'm not gonna take any more trades or anything. E-mini is on a rip. This is going to be interesting if this whole move retraces in the E-mini. 105. Where are we in price on Bitcoin anyways? That interesting setup in Bitcoin. I actually think you might be able to short it here. Dash got killed in volume in the indicator. This data point. What's with that? That's the only way I could see order flow being unreliable. I guess he's saying, like, if order flow would fail, it would be because of block trades happening off exchange. Yeah, well, I think the place where order flow becomes unreliable, I can show you here. One is that maybe order flow is not necessarily unreliable, but difficult to interpret at key battle zones, you know? This one I actually think was probably a good long because of the way that was more price action. But some of these spots, like after this one right here, really, really hard to know if it's going to push up or if it's going to push down, because there's people both ways. There's incentive to try and stop them out both ways. You're not getting any signal about who's winning or losing. It's just really difficult to interpret, right? But then the other thing is that sometimes you get some situations like right here in ZB. They're clearly buying it, but price didn't move up and price actually went down. And so you may have been getting a read. I could see myself looking at ZB only and saying, oh, we're definitely going to come up and go and get this order. But then when you look at ZN, you can see actually that's not the same thing that's happening. In fact, ZN, they sold it, and then when they had a big buy to try and get through the top of that range, it just failed spectacularly, and then they slowly faded down. So, and then you can see the 5-year. Yeah, anyways, so spreading could make it so that you could be seeing order flow in one and it's not reliable. But I think that when you see a really good signal and you see it in all three of them, generally tends to work out, right? So, yeah. Order flow I do think order flow has edge, but it's not reliable 100% of the time. It still fails us sometimes. And that hour can be hard to interpret. Sometimes our reads of it are just wrong. I had 2 reads today on the order flow. These longs, they were just dead wrong. That one I bought into a spoof, for instance. So, yeah. Yeah, it happens. Anyways. When I see something really obvious in the order flow, I'm always a bit suspicious. Well, so here's how I would look at that. Depends on the context, obviously. But like, the thing is that there are some situations where even if it's really obvious what is happening, the market has no choice but to do something, you know? Like if sellers have there's already a lot of sellers short in the market, and then we get to some key level and somebody absorbs 10,000 contracts at the low. Like, that to me is like really obvious. Like, everybody's going to see that there was a 10,000K iceberg there, right? But if we tick up, the market almost has no choice but to go up at that point, you know, because you have 10,000 people short that are minus a tick and are going to start bailing. And not to mention that you have somebody that clearly has a lot of money that's going to be willing to buy things up a little bit to help his position. And the sellers were already overextended. So it's like, it depends on the context. And I think that order flow signals are the most reliable in that context, right? Versus it's a really rangy day, and it's been a hard read all day, and then I see something really obvious, then yeah, you have to be suspicious at that point, because there hasn't been a good read all day, and then all of a sudden they just throw something out super obvious that doesn't. Although I found that other one's not quite as common, because I think that the guy would be sitting there saying, "Oh, I'm going to play this game," but then he should probably know at that point that nobody's going to believe him because it's been a rangy day. You know? Another way of saying it is you're not going to play a game that everybody's going to see unless you have a really high probability of that game working out. Whether or not that game is putting up a big order on the level 2 and pulling it, or absorbing a ton at a high or low, or whatever it is. Interesting that they went back to basically 28. Sad that I wasn't able to take advantage of that move, but I do need to leave now, and if I had taken that, I would still be sitting in a trade, so. Alright, later guys.